Okay, so to begin with today's session, if you feel comfortable on your shins and if you can sit like this, but please, honestly, it's no big deal if you want to sit like this. The only reason I was going to start with shins is because I want to move into child's pose, and it's just a little bit easier to move into it. But do what feels nice. You don't want your legs going dead. Taking your hands just where they feel comfortable. So when you found whatever position works well for you, you want to take that lift up through the spine, soften the shoulders, lift up the chest gently. And let's just start to find the breath. Just bring the attention inwards. If you haven't already, start to find that depth of our breath or working into our ujjayi breath. Let's gently open our eyes now. We're going to move into a little twist. So take the left hand just over the right thigh, right hand behind. You probably need to come onto your fingertips if you're on your shins. So lifting up and then taking that right shoulder back, finding that twist through the centre and the top of the chest. And through centre, hands to prayer, lifting up over the head. And over to the other side. And through centre, hands to prayer. And then taking the hands out in front of us, we're going to do some gentle wrist warm-up. So gentle fist, a few times one way. And the other way. Make sure you keep swapping direction. And then taking the hands out in front of you, pressing through the heels of the hands, curling the fingertips back. And the other side, pressing the fingertips towards you. And then big star shapes. Alright, so we're settling ourselves now into child's pose. You can keep your thighs together for this or just take them slightly parted. Another breath here. Lifting up ever so slightly, moving into a side stretch. So walking the hands across to the right. We press out through the left hand, pull back with the left hip. So that stretch should be all down that left side of the body. And releasing, and let's walk our hands over to the other side. So out through right hand, pull back with right hip. And bring ourselves back to centre and coming onto our hands and our knees now. I need to move into some cat-cow. So in your tabletop, let's inhale, head up, tailbone up. And exhale, curl round. And again, inhale, lift. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Finding a neutral spine and then coming onto your knees now. So your bum can be off your heels. Taking the hands to prayer and lift. And then taking the right hand down the right side of the leg. And coming into another side stretch here. So pressing out through the left side. So don't worry about whether your fingers touch the ground or not. We're just trying to find that stretch out through the left side of the body. And through centre, hands to prayer again. So find the extension. And the other side. So left hand down left thigh. So I feel quite a difference from one side to the other. So I'm going with that's normal. And hands to prayer lift. And coming into downward facing dog. So hands onto the mat, hooking the toes. Taking that downward dog a little bit longer for this first one as always. So you can pedal out through the heels, calves. And then when we're ready, let's walk our feet a little bit further forward and settle in to our more traditional downward facing dog. So fingers spread wide, shoulders out. Perhaps for this first one, we're going to soften the knees a little bit. So refocusing the mind on the breath. And walking our feet forward to enjoy your ragdoll. So making sure the feet are slightly parted. Hands on the elbows and a little sway. And inhale, lift, bring the feet together, rising up through the fingertips, hands down, by our side. So we're going to move through 2 rounds of sun salutation here, but with no break in between. Let's start at mountain at the top of the mat, so pulling the ribs in, shoulders from the ears. Let's take a breath together. Inhale, exhale. Let's inhale, raise through the arms. Exhale, forward fold. Take that softness through the knees should we need. Halfway lift. Stepping back, finding plank. So this can be full plank or on the knees. And exhale, down through chaturanga. Inhale, lift. And exhale, downward facing dog. Take a breath or two here. Stepping forward to the front of the mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, straight back down. Halfway lift. Step or jump back. Exhale through chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Stepping forward to the front of the mat, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way up. Hands down by our sides. Finding the breath together here. Inhale. Exhale. So we're going to inhale now. Take the right knee up with us, lifting up through the arms. And then stepping back with that right foot into crescent lunge. So as always, just find that balance first and then settle in through the hips here. So we're going to take the hands to the prayer. And we're going to turn towards the left of the mat. So turn towards the bent leg. And we're going to hook the right top of the arm over the thigh if we can. If you can't connect the two, then just finding the twist is fine. You can be hovering above. So staying in this twisted position, we're going to lift up through the body and open up the arms. And now let's transition into triangle. So we're going to straighten that front leg up, windmill our arms round, turn towards the right of the mat and drop that back foot down. Inhale. Exhale, move forward into triangle. So my right hip's coming back, left fingertips forward, making sure that underside of my body is extended, finding that triangle pose, separating the shoulders. Gaze down, lifting up and settling down into warrior two. So we're taking that bend through that front leg. Some of you may need to separate the feet a little bit more. So focus on that tailbone, just tucking it under slightly, pulling the ribs in. We're going to take this right hand now, so the back hand, bring it behind our back. You're either going to grab hold of the t-shirt or the thigh, depending on where we're at. Flipping over the front hand and coming into another side stretch here. So I'm moving my weight forward still, opening it through the side of my body. And then moving back to my triangle stance, so releasing my hand, straightening my front leg again. Inhale. Exhale, move forward, back into triangle. Left hand comes down. So this time we've got the option with this top hand, this right hand, to either stay in the sky, or we're going to take it behind our back. Either grab the t-shirt or grab the top of the thigh. Try not to lose what the triangle's about though. So we don't want to bring our body forward. We're still trying to stay in that stacked up position. Releasing the hand back to the sky if it's not already there. Lifting up and now turning towards the right of the mat, ready for a wide leg forward fold. So you want to take your legs out as wide as they comfortably can. Inhale, feel the length through the body. Exhale, hinge, and then releasing the hands to the mat. Let's take a moment to take that halfway lift, so extending through the back of the legs, finding that space through the body. And we're going to take the right hand into the centre, twist and take the left hand up into the sky. So either staying here or taking that left hand behind your back, just like we did earlier on, either grabbing the t-shirt or the thigh. So this is about finding that twist through the body, openness through the chest and the shoulders. If it feels uncomfortable, please come back to taking your hand in the sky. And releasing. Bringing both hands back together on the floor and then swapping over sides. So the left one comes to centre, twist and open up with the right in the sky. Option to stay there or bring it behind your back. Releasing the arm, both hands back to centre. Hands to the hip and all the way up we come. So turning towards the front of the mat now, coming into a low lunge. That left foot moves forward, lower that right leg, arms come up, settle my weight in to the low lunge. So we're going to come into half splits now. So always the options of how you get here. You may want to take your hands down and extend out, or we can come up and take our hands out from here. So the point of this is to find that stretch through the back of the leg. You can take the hands onto the floor next to your hips if that feels good as well. Another breath or two. And moving forward back into a low lunge now, we're going to go through a few options. We want to bring a quad stretch into it now. So we can either lift through the arms and squeeze in that back heel, or we can reach back and bring our right hand to the ground. So my right hand's at the ground, my left hand's behind, grabbing hold of my foot, squeezing my heel in towards my bum. It doesn't take too long before you start feeling that stretch. Another breath. And releasing down, framing the front foot and stepping back into plank pose. Moving into side plank now. So my right hand is going to move to the centre, twist, open it through the left. If you want to drop that bottom knee, then please do. Coming back to plank pose. Inhale at the top. Exhale, down we go. Inhale, lift. Exhale, downward facing dog. Another breath or two. And now coming back onto our hands and our knees here, finding our tabletop. Let's move into our Superman. So we're going to take the right hand out first and left leg. Trying to find a straight line from the fingertips to the toe tips. We're going to bend that back leg, lifting it towards the sky. If you can reach around and grab the foot, then we're going to move into the back bend. If not, we take both hands onto the floor and just lift up through the heel here. And lowering down. Let's move through one round of cat-cow. Inhale, lift. Exhale. Neutral spine and move back into downward facing dog. So we're going to move into wild thing or reverse tabletop. So if we're moving into wild thing, we're going to lift up through the right leg. Bend the knee. Bring that foot behind you, open the chest. So my left leg is extending, my hips are moving up. Open my chest here. The alternative is to lower everything down a bit further to the ground, flip over into our reverse tabletop. Releasing, coming back into downward dog. Moving forward into plank pose, so just the feet as you need. We're going to come onto our knees, lift up through the tailbone, like we're in our cow pose, and then our chest chin moves down to the ground. Sliding forward into a skydive, so lifting up through the arms, lifting up through the legs. And then sliding back into child's pose. Another breath or so. Lifting up, downward facing dog. And stepping forward to the front of the mat. Halfway lift. Forward fold. Inhale, up we come. Hands down. By sides. Take a breath together. Inhale. Exhale. So before we move over to the other side, we're going to do a couple of forward folds. So taking the feet around hip distance apart. Hands under the hips. Inhale, find the extension. Exhale, hinge. So throwing out the options to you, you can either try and grab hold of the big toes with the first two fingers, or if you prefer, grab hold of the back of the legs and draw yourself in that way. So whatever you are holding on to there, let's take a moment just to take this halfway lift. So we want to find the lift up through the back of the legs, opening through the chest, then use your elbow power to draw yourself in. So just remember, we're taking the weight ever so slightly forward into the balls of the feet as we lift up through the back of the legs. Lifting up, halfway lift. So options again, you can either do one of the first two, or we can slide our hands underneath our feet. Taking the weight again into the balls of the feet slightly, finding that extension. And then drawing your body in over the legs. Finding halfway lift again, hands to the hips. All the way up we come, feet together, top of the mat, bringing ourselves in mountain. Let's take a breath, inhale, exhale. And let's move through that flow on the other side now. So inhale, lifting up through the arms and taking the left leg up with us this time. Stepping back into crescent lunge, find the balance. Taking our hands to prayer and then turning towards the right. So my top of my left arm is going to work towards the top of my thigh. So it's okay if they don't touch, you can just find that twist. So staying twisted, lift up through the body and extend out through the arms. Now we're going to straighten that front leg and windmill our arms round. So we're facing the left side of the mat. Flatten that back foot. Inhale. Exhale, move forward into triangle pose. Gaze down. Rising up and settling down into that front knee, warrior two. So just notice our shoulders, make sure they're soft on the ears, we've got all that space. Let's try on the reverse now. So this left hand, bring behind your back, either thigh or t-shirt, flip open with the front hand, and then move into the fold. So weight forward as I lift up through the side of my body. So let's inhale to release back to triangle stance. Then exhale, moving in to triangle. Option now to take this left hand behind the back if you want to. Taking the gaze down, releasing the hand, rising up and turning towards the left of the mat now. Ready for another wide leg fold. So open the legs as far as you comfortably can, hands to the hip. Just going to take a breath here to begin. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, taking the arms out to the side. I'm really sorry. Some of you have moved through as I would usually have done this pose. I'm really sorry. We're going to do our hands behind our back. That's muscle memory for you, isn't it? The hands behind, taking your palms, extending chest. And exhale, moving in to the forward fold. So taking the fist over the head in front of you. So keeping hold of the fist, we're going to inhale, rise all the way back up, open up through the chest. Releasing the hands, coming to neutral spine, and let's turn towards the front of the mat into a low lunge. So that right foot turns forward, lower my left knee. Moving into our half splits. So however works for you, either sliding back first or using the fingers on the ground. Moving forward back into the low lunge and deciding how we want to get in our quad stretch. So either up through the arms, squeezing in, or my left hand comes to the ground, my right hand reaches round, grabs my foot, and I squeeze the heel in towards me. Releasing, framing the front foot. Let's find plank pose. Side plank, left hand into the center, twist and open up, dropping that bottom knee if we need. Coming back to plank, shoulders over wrists, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, adjusting the feet. Let's connect with the breath for a second. And let's find our way onto our knees now and in tabletop. Now we're going to take our left hand out, right leg out. Bend the back leg, either reach round, coming into the bend, or both hands onto the ground and take our heel up. Coming back to our hands and our knees. Let's inhale, come into a cat-cow, lifting it. Exhale, curling round. Moving through center and into downward facing dog. So now we're going to do either wild thing or reverse tabletop. So when you're ready, if we're going into wild thing, we lift up through the left leg, bend, twist round and open up. So my right leg is extended and is long, or we have reverse tabletop. Moving back into downward facing dog. And let's find plank pose from here. So move the legs if you need, shoulders over wrist. We're going to drop to the knees now, lift up through the tailbone, open the chest, then bend the elbows, chest chin to the ground. Sliding forward onto our bellies and into our skydive. Lowering down through the body, sliding back into child's. And into downward facing dog again. Moving into pigeon, right knee, right wrist, sliding back with that back leg. So just that shin as you need, flexing through the foot, making sure our weight is not sitting over on that right hip. So hips are center. We're going to start on our fingertips. We're going to squeeze that back heel in towards us. And release. Inhale. Decide what we're going to do. Stay here. I'll bring some weight into the pose and settle onto our forearms or taking our arms out in front of it. Another few breaths here. Lifting up now onto the fingertips. We're going to give mermaid a go. So lots of options here. We can either squeeze in through that back heel. We may be able to reach round. So left hand is the same hand as foot. So cup the big toe side. Maybe here. Maybe able to bend the elbow. Foot inside of the elbow. Try and play with the balance. So unless your hips are fairly low to the ground or unless you've got a block to help support you. The balance can be hard to lift your front hand up. And releasing. So this left leg, we're going to swing and hook over this right. So if the balance is tough, we're going to extend this right leg out. So the right arm is going to squeeze around the thigh, left hand comes behind. Another breath or two. And releasing, we're going to unhook the legs and move straight into boat pose. So I suggest do start maybe we're holding onto the legs just to find your form and then release from there. Extending the legs out should you want to. But make sure we keep the integrity of the pose. So keeping holding onto the core, stopping that curl out through the spine. Another breath. And let's roll our way over into downward facing dog again. Getting here however works for you. Let's take a couple of breaths and then we're going to move through that little pigeon flow on the other side. So left knee, left wrist. Back leg slides back. Starting on our fingertips, so just get our hips center and then squeeze through the back heel. Lowering down, inhale, staying here or moving in to the pose a little bit deeper. Lifting it back onto our fingertips. Let's give pigeon a whirl. Sorry, not pigeon, mermaid. Bending in through that back leg, either staying here, reaching around with the same hand, squeezing in, finding our mermaid. And releasing, coming into our twist. So this right leg, you want to hook round. Extending out through the left leg if the balance is tough. Squeezing round with the left arm, right hand behind, lift, and then take the gaze back. And releasing and hooking, let's come into boat. And let's roll our way over into downward facing dog. Let's roll ourselves forward into plank pose, adjusting the feet. And then all the way down onto our belly. So with control, resting the head just for a moment. Locust pose now. So let's take the arms the length of the body, palms facing up. And when we're ready, let's press into the hips, lift through the legs, lift through the arms, lift through the chest. So pressing the fingertips back. So the gaze, try not to yank your neck back, just gaze softly forward. And lowering down, resting the head. So we're going to do that one more time in a second. And pressing the heel and the hips in, lifting it through the legs, through the arms. So remember to breathe. And lowering ourselves back down from here. So just lifting it slightly through the body, we're going to bring the right forearm in line with the front of the mat and bend the left leg. So opposite arm to leg. Reaching around, grabbing hold of the foot with the left hand, so cupping the big toe side. So we're going to try and bring the heel in towards you. So the movement is going to take the heel just next to your hip. So you may be bringing it in, just opening through here, or you may be able to flip your grip. So that's turning the shoulder downwards, elbows come up. So shoulder rolls down, elbow pops up, and my fingers drape over my toes. Gently releasing, bringing the forearms together, and let's just rest the head. And let's move on to the other side. So left forearm parallel, bend the right leg. Reach round with the right, let's squeeze the heel in, or flip the grip. So shoulder rolls in, elbow pops up. And releasing, bringing both forearms together, just resting the head for a second. And let's slide your way back into child's pose. And let's move on to our hands and our knees. So we're going to move into puppy pose now. There are a few variations for this. So traditionally, puppy pose will have your hands coming out and then you bring your chest down towards the ground. So some of you may be able to hook the chin, some of you may be the forehead. If this is enormously uncomfortable for you, then I suggest we bring the thighs together, take our hands out and come onto our fingertips. Just lift your bum up enough just to let your chest hang down. So you're going to use gravity a little bit here. So you don't want your chest touching the floor, you just want it hanging down. So carefully coming out of your version of puppy and moving into downward facing dog. And we're going to walk our hands back towards our feet. Hands on the shin and moving into a halfway lift. So feel the lift up through the back of the legs, opening up through the chest. And then taking the hands onto the back of the legs, wherever works for you, drawing yourself into a forward fold. Lifting ourselves up, halfway lift. Inhale, arms raising up, bringing the feet together to the back of the mat. Hands down by our side. So before we move down to the ground, we're going to do a standing pigeon pose. So we want to hook the right ankle. I'll move forward here so you can see. Hook the right ankle over the left knee. So flexing through the foot, my knee's moving away. You can stay here. Alternative is tree pose. So hands to prayer. And we're going to sit in to the pose. You can use anything to hold on to, of course, from here. So the aim is to try and get, eventually, that standing thigh parallel with the ground. So if you're starting to touch your elbows towards your feet and your knee, then maybe you can bring the body over your thigh. But if you're more here or here, that's okay. I think it's quite a challenging pose no matter where you are. So nice and gently lift yourself up, unhook, maybe pedal out through the feet a little bit here. And let's move on to the other side. So using our right foot to stabilise us, and left knee comes, left ankle hooks over, hands to prayer. So remember, we can hang out here or we can move down into the pose. Gently moving up, treading out through the feet, and then standing up, mounting at the back of your mat still. Let's take a breath. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, lifting up through the arms. Exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift. Let's gently come to our knees. Use your hands just to guide you down and move into supported camel. So holding the lower part of your spine, hips forward, chest up. Coming up to a neutral spine and into dolphin pose. So we're either forearms parallel, or you can make a little triangle shape with your hands if that feels better here. If you hate dolphin pose, then please just move into downward facing dog. And we're going to try and move into downward dog from here. So some of you may want to come onto your knees to do this. Some of you may be able to just lift onto your hands to make the adjustments as you need to settle in to your downward facing dog. And now bringing ourselves onto the floor to seated and extending out through the legs. We're going to come into a couple of forward folds now. So right foot inside of the left thigh, hands to prayer, inhale, lift, and then over we go. So you can use the strap or the floor, grabbing hold of the foot, whatever works for you. Making sure we're just keeping our focus towards the toes or beyond the toes. Try not to start looking down towards the knee, so in the direction we're going in. Lifting ourselves up from here, and let's swap over sides. So extend the right, left one comes in, hands to prayer lift, and then over we go. Gently lifting ourselves up. We're going to take both legs out in front of us now, but bring the soles of the feet together. So big diamond shape in the shape of your legs. Hands are coming inside of the legs. If you can pop them out towards your feet or towards the shin or the ankle. So once we've got hold of something, then we're going to nestle in a little bit into the pose, extend out through the spine. Make sure that our neck is there and we're not covering it with our shoulders, and then we're moving down towards the feet. So don't, again with all these things, don't get hung up on trying to get your face in your feet. We're just moving in that direction. And lifting ourselves up. So keeping the feet together, we're going to draw the heels a little bit closer to our hips now. So this is the pose where we either can open our feet like a little book, or we grab hold of the ankles or the lower part of the shin, elbows inside of the knees. So we're going to still move it forward with that forward motion, so taking the chin beyond the feet. So inhale, find that lift extension, and then pressing the elbows down into the knees, taking ourselves forward, chin going beyond the feet. So again, just remind yourself that you do have a neck, shoulders away from the ears. And lifting it from here. So legs out wide now. Wide leg fold. So take them out as wide as you comfortably can. So if you do find that this is uncomfortable, remember sitting on something can help, or bending the knee ever so slightly can help this be more accessible too. So taking the hands just in front of you. Again, find the lift. Now we're focusing on moving the chest and the belly towards around at the same time. Movement from the hip. So start creeping the fingers forward. Keep activated through the legs, so your knees are up and your toes are up, okay? Your thighs are activated. And then moving yourself down. So find that point of like resistance. And then just start to breathe. Really focus on the breath here. And gently coming up, moving into a twist again here. So taking the left hand just over the right leg, right hand comes behind, lift through the spine, then take the twist. And let's swap over sides, so the right hand over the left leg. And then bringing ourselves back to centre. So we're going to do something we haven't done in a little while. We're going to try and bring a bit of movement into a bit of a hip stretch here. So we're going to take the right hand behind. We're going to use our left hand for a bit of momentum. Moving forward, hips come up. And try and lift up through the hips from here. So I do find that after you've done your first bit of momentum, you can try and lift up a little bit easier. So if we need to bend the legs a little bit here, that's okay too. So we can try and lift up. But having a bit of a swing at it does help. Okay, well done. So using the breath, moving round, lift, and then lower. Then we swoop round, lifting up the other side. Let's do one more each side. Again, remember, bending knees, very much an option. And then releasing, settling ourselves back into that wide leg. One more forward fold. Inhale, lift up through the hands, and then over we go. Going to stay here just for a few breaths to slow everything down. And lifting ourselves up and coming onto our backs now. So taking the knees in towards the chest. We're going to do one more pigeon, doing our recline version this time. So taking the feet onto the mat, so roughly mat distance apart, and hooking the right ankle over the left knee. So knee moving away, flexing through the foot. So this may be enough, or we may want to take hold of the left shin or the left thigh, drawing that in towards you. And gently releasing, it's working onto the other side. So unhooking, hooking the other side over. So knee moving away, flexing through the foot, deciding how this side feels. Are we staying here or are we drawing it in? Let's try and focus on that lower part of the spine and curling down onto the mat. And gently releasing, unhooking the legs, drawing both knees in again. And last pose before Shavasana is going to be our supine twist, so keeping hold of the right shin, extending out through the left leg. Taking hold of the knee with the left hand as you guide it over. Right arm extending out, taking your gaze to follow it. So don't worry about that knee touching the ground. You're trying to find that stretch. You may feel it around the thigh, around the hip, around the twist point through the body. And releasing, drawing both knees in again, ready for our other side, extending out through the right and taking hold of the knee, guiding it over to the right, left arm extends out. So if you're not feeling very much, it might be that you need to take the knee a little bit higher up so your thigh is in a bit more of a connection with your body as you take it over. Back through center, both knees in again. And now let's find your comfy spot in your Shavasana, just to rest out for the final few moments of our practice. So once we're here, take 3 nice breaths, so deep in, out with noise, and again, inhale, exhale. One more time in. Exhale. Just settling back into our natural breath pattern now. Jaw is soft, shoulders are soft. Just guiding our attention to enjoy these moments of our practice. So finding now our movement through our fingers and toes. Arms over the head, nice long stretch out through the legs, and pull the belly button in, stretch out through the ribs with an inhale, and drawing the knees into the chest. Let's gently find your way up to a nice comfortable seating position, resting your hands, shoulders soft. Let's take an inhale, softly out, and again inhale, exhale. Hands up prayer at the heart. Moving into our weekend with a positive thought and a full and grateful heart. Take another gentle in, softly out, and namaste to you all.